everybody. Welcome to More Sports and Les-Levine. I'm Dave Bacon, filling in for Les Levine. He is Bud Shaw from WKYC.com.
Great to be with you.
Bringing back armchair quarterback days here,
Yeah,
buddy.
no kidding. Maybe we can get into a good debate.
Oh, there you go. We'll have plenty of those. Tuesday in the NFL world means it's a player's day
I still
off.
think Sam Darnold's the pick. Oh, wait. That one's gone.
We better watch that. There's a certain quarterback that might not take kindly to that who wears number 6 here in town. So Tuesday means player's day off. Not a lot coming out of Berea.
No, I'm sure somebody in Berea either grew a beard today or shaved a mustache in hopes of turning things around. But no, nothing tangible happened out there that we know of.
And that could be a good thing given the way things have been going.
The last week has gone. You know, the thing that I found alarming was when they were coming back from the bye. You know, they had the Seattle game behind them. Well rested, and 10 days later, they're still, from the head coach to the wide receivers to the quarterback, they're still talking about things that happened back then. You know, Odell was talking about the dress code fine. Baker-Mayfield's talking about the officiating and being fined for that. Freddie's talking about the end of the first half and how he still believes he did the right thing in trying to get 2 scores. You know, and you just want to look and say, well, why isn't this all going in that direction instead of scattering back here again over something that they can't control anymore?
Well, and again, it comes back to the attention to detail and maybe even more importantly, lack of focus.
Yeah.
What is the focus?
And I don't know, is it fair to pin that all on Freddie Kitchens? I think he has to bear some of it because he's the guy that came in there with a supposed plan to build a certain culture of accountability, and it doesn't seem like it has taken root, whether it's the lack of veteran leadership in the locker room attributing to it or whatever it is. It's not there.
Well, the players have to bear the majority of it, though, because at the end of the day, these, they're corporations, for lack of a better term, guys that are making millions of dollars a year to perform. It falls on them as much as anybody as well. I mean, you would think, but that goes back to, what exactly is going on in that locker room. But we digress. First of all, you have some thoughts to share with us to get things rolling.
Yeah, and as usual, they're about Freddie Kitchens, so. You know, one thing Freddie Kitchens made clear when he was hired was that he didn't care who got the credit in Berea. Forget for a minute that there isn't much credit to go around these days after a 2-6 start. For some reason, Kitchens has been adamant that he won't turn over play calling to offensive coordinator Todd Monken. I've said before, I think play calling is Kitchens' wheelhouse, but it's getting harder and harder to defend some of his game day decisions and his mismanagement of game day situations. Time is running out on the Browns making a realistic run at the playoffs. I'd say Kitchens has 2 games to showcase his offense at this point. Buffalo, and then a Thursday night home game with the Steelers. After that comes another break, 10 days, I think. If nothing changes by then, I believe Kitchens will be well on his way to losing more than the play calling.
Yeah, it's tough to argue with that. The other thing is if you're going to share the responsibility, you're going to share the blame, I think is what he's saying.
Yeah, probably a little bit of that. But he's been very adamant that, like, instead of saying, well, listen, I respect Todd Monken. He did it in Tampa Bay last year, although I believe he had play calling taken away from him in Tampa last year, too. I'm not sure.
Although that offense was
the offense
best.
is a very good passing offense. It didn't get a lot of things done running-wise, but he hasn't seemed to, like, even throw out that kind of olive branch that, I know Todd could do this, but I really feel like this is where our focus should be. And it's going to be, I just look at the things he does during games, Dave, whether it's challenging a spot or, or not having Chubb on the field in 3rd and short and 4th and short. And I think if he didn't have play calling, would he be able to manage those situations a little bit better? I don't know for a fact that Monken's play calling is suddenly going to be the thing that turns this team around. But right now, they don't seem prepared for situations that arise in games.
No, they appear to be scattered. It's almost, when I'd say focused, they appear to be almost scatterbrained with some of the things.
Yeah, and I know early on, after, say, like the Rams game, I know there were people saying that during that game, Mayfield was looking over to the sideline 3 or 4 times like, what do we call it? Like, get me the play. I don't know for a fact that that's still happening, but it is, to me, another indicator that you can talk yourself into a job and say you're going to be well prepared, you're going to be, creative on offense. And we always talk about how these guys come in and they win the press conference. But until you get out there on the field and things are happening quickly and you suddenly have to be in control of which personnel groups are out there for what you want to do, head coaching in this league is not an easy job.
Well, the thing that's extremely troubling is their play calling inside the 20 in the red zone, if you will. I mean, and people are piling on about Chubb not being in the backfield, and they've got a point. That's a valid point. But the concern is, it seems like they throw into the middle of the defense or run into the middle of the defense. Even when they spread it out, it's always going where there are multiple defenders.
Yeah.
You just don't see that with good offenses.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not schooled enough in X's and O's to tell you what their percentage of success is with empty backfields inside the 20, all of that. There are websites out there that can tell you exactly that. But one of the things that jumped out at me this week, and I believe it was, I'd like to credit like Jake Trotter, I think, from ESPN Cleveland, who got the numbers together for targets in the red zone.
Yep.
And right now, Odell-Beckham-Jr. is ranked 126th in the NFL in being targeted inside the red zone.
I think it's out of like 132, too.
Well, I didn't even know that.
He has like 3. I think he has 3 targets.
Yeah, he has 3 targets in the red zone. And listen, I saw him make a couple of plays in that last game that I wasn't sure how he made those catches or how he kept the ball from hitting the ground. But those are the kinds of things that you don't throw into triple coverage. I'm not suggesting that you do that just to try to get him the ball, but Rich Gannon said it late in that telecast. When you're down inside the 20, it's more about players than it is about plays. And this offense seems to think it's still about plays. And if it's a scarcely used tight end who flashes open in the back of the end zone, that's where the ball's going instead of going to guys that have scored touchdowns before.
And even when they do try to target somebody like Beckham, it seems to be like it's going into defenders.
Yeah.
As opposed, put him in the back corner of the end zone and make 1 or 2 guys defend him that aren't linebackers waiting to take his head off.
Yeah, and that fourth down play was an indicator or an example of that. When Beckham beats, I think it was Chris Harris off the line and has a step and a half on him in single coverage, Baker throws it into the middle of the field for Landry, who did flash open, but there's also 3 guys there by the time the ball comes to him. So it's not as simple as saying that Freddie Kitchens is the sole reason why this team is losing, but certainly he's going to bear a lot of the responsibility just because of how ill-prepared they've been in certain situations, not to mention starting the season with all of training camp to prepare for Tennessee, coming out of the bye and doing what they did on 3 consecutive snaps against the New England Patriots. I mean, that's a head coach looking to get fired when those things happen.
The thing that, let's go the 4th and 1 call where you have a quarterback, sneak. I get it. That's not a bad call. Mm-hmm. But your quarterback isn't 6'2", 220 pounds. Yeah. So if you want him to have the ball, roll him out. His legs can be a weapon.
Yeah.
You see none of that in the red zone.
No, you don't. And when he has occasionally taken the ball and tucked it and run, it's been successful, and it hasn't always gone for. It's not Lamar Jackson.
No.
I'm not pretending it is, but
and you don't want him to make a living doing it because he's going to take a beating.
But it's certainly enough to make the defense say, "Oh,
yeah,
okay."
Or here's another one.
When he does scramble, we know he's just not running right and throwing the ball. We know he might try to gain some yards.
Here's another one. So you fake the handoff to Chubb, and you bootleg out the opposite way because the way Chubb's running the ball. You're going to get the defense going that way.
Yeah, and
you see none of that.
And one of the things I think we're all going to be watching I'm going to be watching it more with interest than I am anticipation, is Kareem Hunt coming into this offense. Mm-hmm. I don't think he's suddenly going to save the season because I'm not sure Freddie knows how to use him. I mean, I haven't seen it's one thing to say, well, instead of Dontrell Hilliard, now you're going to have Kareem Hunt, and that's an upgrade. Are you going to be taking carries away from
nick-chubb?
From Chubb again, or like we saw happen last year more than this year, And I think anytime you're taking the ball out of Nick Chubb's hands right now, it's not great.
No, it's been one of the areas that have been what you expected or better than, quite frankly. You see the number if you want to get involved, 216-575-0403. Dave Bacon filling in for Les-Levine. Bud Shaw here as well from WKYC.com. Stat of the month for the Ohio Lottery. There are over 238,000 winners on Ohio scratch-offs each and every day. With that amount of winning, stop by your local retailer and try your luck on any of the popular holiday-themed scratch-offs. Also want to tell you about our Facebook. Facebook.com/more-sports-and-les-levine. New content posted each and every day, including our Facebook question of the day. We're going to step aside, take a quick timeout. Bud Shaw and I will return right here on More Sports and Les-Levine. Stay with us.
Presque Isle Downs and Casino now has sports betting. Use one of the 50 state-of-the-art Bet America kiosks to place your bet. Then watch your favorite games on our new HD televisions or visit our new sportsbook area. Only at Presque Isle Downs and Casino.
As a kid growing up, my dream was to go to college, play baseball, and get a degree. Coming out of high school, I had two choices. I was accepted into a four-year university, but I decided to come to Tri-C after receiving a scholarship. I got my associate's degree at Tri-C. They transferred all my credits straight into Baldwin-Wallace, so I started at Baldwin-Wallace University as a junior. My name is Tyler Leonard, and I earned my first degree at Tri-C.
The Ohio Lottery Partners in Education program recognizes role model students and teachers from across Ohio. Nominations can now be done completely online. To nominate a deserving teacher or student, go to OhioLottery.com. In the About section, find Partners in Education. There you will find links to the nomination forms. Students kindergarten through 12th grade can be academic all-stars. Teachers can be honored as a Teacher of the Month. The Ohio Lottery Partners in Education, where stars shine. Welcome back to More Sports and Les-Levine. See the number if you want to get involved. Along with Bud Shaw, I'm Dave Bacon. But, we try to give everybody the benefit of the doubt. Some people say, the media is too nice, too kind, not hardcore enough. So you want to give a guy that's in his first year, first time as head coach, benefit of the doubt. So that's kind of the mindset that we always approach things with, especially with Freddie Kitchens. So that's kind of where we're coming at this. It hasn't been a good first half of his first season.
No,
it really
and I
hasn't.
think in some cases you see guys come into first year as rookie head coaches and they're taking over a really bad situation, right? And I think so he's being judged a little differently because of what happened in the last half of last year.
Right.
People thought that this was a team that was really starting to come into its own, as opposed to a team like that Hugh Jackson took over after.
Right.
Well,
and they added a lot. They added some big-name guys via trade. And so part of the problem is the expectations were probably a little bit higher, and, by us included, probably a little bit higher than they should have been.
And partly, though, I think they were a little higher because people looked at the AFC North and saw the possibility of a couple of these teams starting to hit the downward spiral. Now, I think wrongly some people threw Baltimore in there and thought, oh, they're not going to be as good. They lost a couple of C.J. Mosley, a couple of really good defensive players. We know now that they're going to be a team to be reckoned with. We didn't expect Roethlisberger to get hurt, but people thought he was maybe gone this way, and his career in Baker was gone that way. As it turns out, Baker's been going this way, and that totally changes everything.
Yeah, and some people are starting to question, is he the guy? I don't know that's not necessarily fair.
I don't know about you. I'm not there yet.
No, I'm not either.
I'm not there yet. I don't think
it's not fair to him. I mean, you have to expect now the NFL guys had an entire offseason to say, he has trouble doing this. And that's what we're seeing. He has trouble.
Well, I think I mentioned to you off air that Aqib Talib was on radio today nationally and said that when they played the Browns, that they purposely had guys funnel drop left because they knew to trap him because they knew he was going to run right. And when he did that, there wasn't any place for him to go. So now he's cut the field in half, and he's trying to throw either back across his body or into this little window. And by Talib's estimation, that was he thinks that he did that maybe 15 or 20 times that game, where he abandoned the pocket and just went that way. And I remember coaches in Berea talking about Colt McCoy and how that was his habit for a little while, and they were trying to break him of it. So we'll see. I mean, these guys, the hardest job in this league is playing quarterback, and it doesn't surprise me that he isn't a finished product or that he didn't just hit this upswing and keep going in that direction.
And he'll figure it out. You know, he's a good enough athlete, and he's a competitor. So, you know, he will eventually figure it out. I think that it's a pretty rough spot for him right now.
It is. And when you throw in a guy, as we know, the second hardest job maybe in the NFL is head coach.
Yeah.
So you have two guys that are new to it, and it's showing.
Well, you know, we took a look at some of the legendary Hall of Fame type head coaches and what they have done as rookie head coaches in their first 8 games, and it's pretty eye-opening, you know. Now, in fairness, most of these guys, you know, you saw Landry is 0-8, you see Shula. Usually when you take over a team, it's because they were really, really bad the year before, and you've got to do a major rebuild. But still, it goes to show you some really good head coaches struggled a whole lot in the first half of their first year. And, you know, you hope for Freddie Kitchens' sake, he's one of those guys that is just struggling early and will put it together.
Yeah, one of the things that jumps out at me is that some of those coaches at the top of the list were from an era when you couldn't immediately improve your team through free agency, you know, as you can now. So to your point earlier, I think that's one of the reasons why we're looking at Freddie with, you know, a pretty sharp focus, is that he not only inherited a team with what we think is a young franchise quarterback, but he had 2, you know, excellent receivers, or at least very good receivers in Landry and Beckham, and a guy who has shown this year that he's among the top 3 or 4 running backs in the league, I think. I mean, maybe you would still put Cowboys running back.
Ezekiel
Elliott.
Yep.
I'm sure you'd still put him at the top of the list, but this guy is this guy is going to be a really good player for a really long time.
And you know, the thing is, you want to build the offense around him, because if you do that right and you establish the run, it only sets up your ability to throw the ball deep to your really good wide receiver in Odell Beckham. They haven't figured that out yet. That's frustrating.
I heard a criticism of the Patriots game that they came out on a wet day and their first 5 or 6 plays were passes. I didn't have a problem with that. Sometimes in this league you do come out throwing, and then that helps you even more when you're handing off. But they got to Chubb pretty quickly in that game, and he just happened to have a freak accident where he gets one ball kicked out of his possession, and the other was a bad fumble. So
did you happen to see I saw something on the internet, the all-22 of that. The guy that caused the fumble was blocked on the far side of the play on the ground. He got up and ran about 65 yards and created the fumble. That dude was out of the play who came and stripped the ball. And it just goes to show you that's what they're coaching defensively in New England.
Yeah, and you know, one of the things that I think is, I don't want to say alarming, but I think one of the things that I didn't expect to happen, and I know you and I are going to get into the actual parts of the team that are
in a little bit,
overperforming or underperforming.
There's a lot more that are.
There's a lot more underperforming, but I really have been taken a little aback at when they get down in a game. They seem to have these moments when, I don't want to say guys quit, but they just get, you know, they get banged for a really big play, and it seems to deflate them for a while, and then they come back a little bit. And I've not been real impressed with the defense overall, and the defensive line in particular.
You know, and again, I think it comes back to focus. You know, that when I say focus, it's kind of like they're kind of upset, PO'd at themselves because they let that happen, and then they get popped with another big play.
Yeah.
And that's, you got to get out of that cycle if you're the Browns defense.
Yeah, and we've seen, you know, we saw it in the Tennessee game with they score it's a tight game. They give up the screen pass that goes for a touchdown. We saw it with the tight end in this last game. Overall, if you have a rookie, not just a rookie quarterback, a guy taking his first snap in an NFL regular season game, I don't think they nearly made him as uncomfortable as he should have felt.
You should have had the Browns backers from Denver blitzing him
exactly
at Mile High.
And
I just didn't. I was surprised by that, quite frankly.
I was too.
I thought they would try to get after him, and the reason for that, I'm not sure. Our Facebook question for today was, if not Coach Kitchens, then who? And we got some interesting responses to this.
Anybody?
There you go.
That was a guess. I didn't even see that.
You didn't even see these.
I guess no Browns fans.
Anybody? How about Dan with bring back Greg Williams? Not sure that's. Although at this point in time, who knows? That isn't necessarily
you can certainly
on the realm.
make the argument that they would be better off this season if they had kept Williams as head coach and Freddie in his spot. Giving Freddie more money.
Now, I think they thought Freddie Kitchens was going to be hired away as a head coach.
I do think they thought that, and there were things about Greg Williams that they didn't like, and we've heard a couple players come out and say that if Greg Williams had been retained, they would have asked to be traded. So, who knows?
Yeah. Andy says Steve Wilkes in the interim and hire a veteran head coach in the offseason like Mike McCarthy.
Can I say this? For whatever reason, Mike McCarthy is not on their list. They never talked to him the last time. I had heard from people who know people in the front office that he was never a serious candidate.
And that says more than anything because there's a lot of folks that are from the Green Bay front office. So, it might be just a matter of, his time in the NFL. The NFL has kind of gotten by what he likes to do and those kind of things. Rick May, stick with Kitchens until the end of the year, then decide switching midstream won't solve the problem. No direction, no discipline, no defensive stopper. There's a lot of no's in there.
Yeah, and I agree with him, by the way. I don't think they should make a change in the middle of the season.
Rest of the season, Steve Wilkes is what Michael Cerialo says. And Steve Wilkes he was only 1 year at Arizona.
Yeah, and Monken was a candidate after this last season in Tampa, but he didn't seem to get serious interviews, or at least second interviews.
And then who's the running backs coach is the question. That would be Stump Mitchell, I believe. I believe I got the answer to that.
Yeah, it worked so well the last time. Why not do that again?
Well, maybe he's thinking that's one of the areas of the team that's performing well.
True.
Let me throw that out there for you.
That's true.
You see the number if you want to get involved, 216-575-0403. Bud Shaw, Dave Bacon. Want to tell you about Northfield Park. Northfield Park is your home for live and simulcast racing. We'll get there you go. Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Saturday, and Sunday. Monday to Wednesday, post time 6 o'clock. Saturday and Sunday, post time 6:40. Open early every day for simulcast action. Weekly Sunday contests. Top prize is $500 each week. Lady Luck's Clubhouse is open every Saturday for a buffet, $15.95. Call 330-467-4101 for reservations. Special pricing on premium nights as well. I want to also tell you about Northeast Factory Direct. No gimmicks, no deceiving blowout sales, no typical retail nonsense. Just 3 huge bare-bones warehouses filled with some of the same stuff found at a number of stores. One big difference at Northeast Factory Direct. Items are priced about half of regular retail. Bottom line, nobody is going to touch their everyday savings. If you want nice big-ticket items to improve your home, want to pay about half of what most people pay, go to Northeast Factory Direct, West 140th in Cleveland, the old B&B Appliance on Lakeland Boulevard in Euclid, Freeway Drive in Macedonia. You can check out everything they have at northeastfactorydirect.com. We're going to step aside, take another quick timeout. Bud Shaw and I will return. We'll talk about the areas that are performing well on the Browns and some of the disappointments. You guess which one we'll have more to talk about. More Sports and Les-Levine. We'll be right back after this time.
No other company or product can match the features, benefits, and warranty of an authentic Nature Stone floor.
There was moisture in the basement. It ruined the carpeting. The smell was terrible. We didn't feel safe in our own basement, and that's when we called Nature Stone.
And with Russell's Promise, our true unconditional warranty, you will never have to replace your basement flooring again. Get NatureStone installed by the end of October and save up to half off. Schedule your free cost estimate easily online today at naturestone.com. It's not just a floor, wow, it's NatureStone.
Oh, gosh. Playing Ohio Lottery Pick 3, I see. What are you going to do? A box bed, a split pairs, or a wheel? Well, old Picky Ricky here's a straight shooter. It razzes my berries when newbies think betting's hard. Straight bets are easy peasy. Just match 3 numbers in order and win the old-fashioned way. This, on the other hand, is not so simple. Oh, God. Oh, jeez Louise. Play the Ohio Lottery Pick 3 today.
There are tastes we remember. Every smell brings the happiness of times gone by. Experience this every time you walk into Gallucci's Italian Foods. Whether you need lunch on the go, a catered party, or that perfect blend of wine, meats, and cheeses, Gallucci's has exactly what you're looking for. Straight from Mama's Kitchen for old world traditions or original experiences. From the tastes you remember to new flavors you'll never forget. Gallucci's is a tasty branch of your family tree.
When it comes to selling you a mattress, most retailers are handing you a long line of extra steps that drive up costs and create confusion. At the Original Mattress Factory, we simplify the mattress shopping experience by building mattresses and box springs in our own local factories and selling them direct to you. It's short, sweet, and simply makes sense. So experience more than just the mattress store. Experience an original, the Original Mattress Factory.
Welcome back to More Sports and Les-Levine. See the number if you want to get involved, along with Bud Shaw from WKYC.com. I'm Dave Bacon, filling in for Les-Levine tonight. And, Bud, it's been a disappointing first 8 games, and there are a number of areas that really haven't performed well. You know, we've talked a little bit about Baker-Mayfield, and we can talk a little bit more about that. We've talked a little bit about the wide receivers. The defensive line that everybody thought was going to go out and dominate teams hadn't shown up at all.
No, it really hasn't. And, you know, we saw in the Tennessee game and Seattle game,
they needed stops and couldn't.
And they gave up chunks and chunks of rushing yardage, which I thought was – I knew myles-Garrett was going to be a force as a pass rusher, but I thought that defensively, that was going to be a pick-your-poison thing. Do you want to throw against these guys or do you want to run on them? And you're not going to be able to do either. And that's been totally misproven.
No, and it's the same. We've switched defensive coordinators, and it's the same basic areas. They're getting gashed with running plays.
Tackling's not been good.
And the tight ends are killing them. Yeah. That's the same,
That's a great point.
We could just cue it up and rewind.
Yeah, really. And we know Greg Williams, had a different philosophy of blitzing and trying to pressure quarterbacks and everything, but the results have been the same.
Yeah, which is kind of concerning. And, I think Mack Wilson has shown he can play linebacker. And I thought when they drafted him, he was a steal. He's been really good.
He has. And I think maybe to be fair, we should say they didn't have their starting corners early in the year. I think we know Denzel Ward, what kind of a player he is, even though he was the guy in the vicinity on that first touchdown. It was good coverage. He just didn't how's this for a football term? He didn't high point the ball.
Yeah. Huh? Well, he was giving away a little bit of height,
and the guy made a great play.
Yeah.
And I saw, my former colleague Doug Maurice was on Twitter saying, and he wasn't trying to be sarcastic. He was like, "Can anybody tell me a play that the Browns have made offensively that rivals that kind of play?"
He's right. Yeah.
And I think he's right. I can't think of that one, spectacular catch. We know Beckham caught one and went 80-some yards. He did have one down the sideline, maybe in the Baltimore game, I think.
And he had the one where he kind of went through a defender last week.
Yeah, but we're talking now like 8 games and grand total of 2 touchdowns from Jarvis-Landry and Odell-Beckham-Jr.
Here's something that's just I can't wrap my head around it. Rashad Higgins was kind of Baker Mayfield's security blanket. He was always the guy that seemed to be past the first down marker when he caught the ball last year. He would come in and make the big reception that ended up being a touchdown. last year. And now we got Antonio Callaway, and I know it's – I watch Antonio Callaway, and I just think he's lazy. And by lazy, I mean he's not crisp in and out of breaks. His routes are kind of all over the place. If you send him 40 yards downfield and throw the ball up, he'll usually run under it or give it a – but there's nothing there that makes me say, boy, I got to get the ball to him.
I think it's probably the biggest mystery of the season right now is – why isn't Higgins a part of the offense now that he's back healthy? And Freddie's responses to it suggest to me that there is something more at work here because it doesn't make any sense. And he's getting defensive about it and saying, I'm not going to talk about playing time. I'm not going to talk about playing time. I'm not going to talk about targets. I understand what he's trying to do. He's trying to get them all pulling in the same direction without worrying about individual stats. But the fact is, you're right. I mean, there's not the chemistry there with Beckham and Mayfield right now, and there was instant chemistry with Higgins. Why not take advantage of it? Not at Beckham's expense, but certainly get Higgins the ball a little bit.
But the thing that strikes me is they've targeted Beckham, I think it's 3 times in the red zone. They've targeted Callaway 5 or 6, and he missed the first several games. Why aren't those targets to the guy that has the chemistry with Mayfield, Rashard Higgins?
Yeah.
That's what those numbers. When I see those numbers, I'm like, why?
Yeah.
Why?
I mean, Callaway to me, when you're down inside the 20, the precision of those routes becomes even more important. And like you said, he's not that guy to count on for that.
And the interception against the 49ers in the red zone was because the ball was behind him, but that's a timing throw where the break wasn't done correctly. Yeah. I mean, come on, it's not that difficult to figure out.
And that's a situation where he came in not playing for a while and was instantly played 40-some plays that first game back. That's why I'm going to be so intrigued to see what they do with Hunt, because we're already hearing that Hunt's going to have a role in this offense. Well, I just hope it's not at the expense of guys that are ready to play right now and need to make touchdowns for this team to win a game.
I would like to see Hunt and Chubb in the same backfield, leave Beckham, and if you want to take one of those guys out, take Callaway out.
Yeah. And maybe they do have that planned. I mean, I think that would make some sense, and it's going to be a tough thing for defenses to deal with. The one thing I think we can sort of retire now is the second half schedule is going to be easy for these guys. And
if you lose to a guy, and not only was Brandon Allen making his first NFL start and taking his first NFL snap, he's 27 years old.
Yeah.
So that's a guy that hadn't played in a while.
27-year-old, 6th-round pick, and
he looked okay.
He did.
That's not good.
So now we're looking at. Listen, I'm not ready to say that they could lose to any other team on the schedule here. I think Cincinnati still falls into that category of those games should be won. But, hey, could Ryan Fitzpatrick have a big day against this defense and they could lose to Miami? Could Kyler Murray cause them some issues and they have to go out there to play? They could lose these games. This idea that they're going to run off 6, 7, 8 in a row is not going to happen, not based on the way they play the game right now.
Not unless they go a complete 180 and do they have the talent to do that? Sure, but they haven't shown the intangibles, they haven't shown the discipline that it would require to string 3 or 4 games together like that.
Yeah, and I've been hesitant to get into this whole shoe thing and mustaches and all that stuff because does it really affect the way they play on the field? I don't think you can say that, you know. But I just think it's part of a bigger picture of a team that has just sort of doesn't have the discipline to attend to the details that are important and to put everything else aside. And we know that Odell-Beckham Jr. has sort of been that way his whole career. There's always been these things around him. He thinks he's being picked on. Well, here's one way to not get picked on. Just wear the shoes that they tell you to wear to begin with and not a watch and all these other things that just don't have anything to do with playing football right now.
Right. I mean, the one thing, again, if you're putting on different shoes or you're putting on this or you're putting on that or you're not focused. And it keeps coming back to focus on the opponent and the game.
Yeah, and I've heard from friends, and I'm sure you have too, Dave, that they're really getting tired of watching Baker-Mayfield underperform on the field, and then they go to a commercial and there he is again. Well, I'm sure those commercials were filmed.
They were
in the off season. They're not. It's not like he's doing that on a night he's supposed to be preparing for the Buffalo Bills. But it is that kind of it's one of those things that it just gets people even more irritated by a team that they clearly is underperforming.
Well, I think it comes back to the perception is you're not focusing on football. You're focusing on everything else. And it's hard to argue with that based on it's always something.
Yeah, it's hard to argue with it when those things show up during the week, when you're taken to social media to explain why you had stormed off a podium with a reporter asking you a question. Well, why are you, if you really don't care what anybody thinks, why are you on social media talking about it? Don't worry about it then. Just get ready for the game. It's just that kind of stuff just keeps cropping up, and maybe that's part, I've heard people say, well, that's part of what makes Baker-Mayfield great, that chip on his, or play great, that chip on his shoulder, that edge. I don't know. I don't see a guy playing very well, and I see a guy with terrible numbers inside the red zone after having, what was the stat the other day, that he had 20 TDs and no interceptions in the red zone last year?
It was something along those lines.
I mean, it's unbelievable that they've done what they've done inside the 20.
And again, is that Baker? He has to share some of the responsibility, but it's play calling.
Yeah.
It seems like everything is designed to go into the middle of the field, and it's like,
a lot of people in there.
There's going to be about, think about it. There's going to be 4 linemen, 3 linebackers, 2 or 3 linebackers, and a couple of safeties.
Yeah.
On the flanks, there's not that many people.
You think three's a crowd? How about 11?
You've got really good athletes on the outside, and Nick-Chubb. Find a way to isolate them in space. It's not rocket science.
I know. And this is a guy that got the head coaching job because of his offensive creativity.
Yeah.
And it did feel to me, except for the Baltimore game, when that felt like it was played at just a different pace, with a different attitude. Well, and the other games have not felt that way at all. They feel tentative. They look non-aggressive.
Yeah. The Baltimore game was what you kind of expected, and then there's been no sustaining ability for it. Well, we want to remind you, you can get involved. You also can call us via the voicemail of Truth and Reason, 216-200-6650. Anytime, leave a message. We'll use the best messages in a future show. But Sean and I are going to take a quick time out. We will be right back here with more of More Sports and Les-Levine on cleveland.com.
As a kid growing up, my dream was to go to college, play baseball, and get a degree. Coming out of high school, I had 2 choices. I was accepted into a 4-year university, but I decided to come to Tri-C after receiving a scholarship. I got my associate's degree at Tri-C. They transferred all my credits straight into Baldwin-Wallace, so I started at Baldwin-Wallace University as a junior. My name is Tyler Leonard, and I earned my first degree at Tri-C.
The Ohio Lottery Partners in Education program recognizes role model students and teachers from across Ohio. Nominations can now be done completely online. To nominate a deserving teacher or student, go to OhioLottery.com. In the About section, find Partners in Education. There you will find links to the nomination forms. Students kindergarten through 12th grade can be academic all-stars. Teachers can be honored as a Teacher of the Month. The Ohio Lottery Partners in Education, where stars shine.
It takes attention to detail. With your local Bryant dealer, you're getting more than just a technician. You're getting someone who pays attention to your needs and the little things that make a big difference. It takes a dealer you can rely on. And to keep your family warm this winter,
here, let me show you how this works.
It takes Bryant.
Bryant. Whatever it takes.
This date in sports history, the Cavs set a then-record 24-game losing streak, falling to the New Jersey Nets 99-91, November 5th, 1982. back in the Ted Stepien
Yeah, that
days.
predates me.
Oh, no, I was a high school student. Right about that time was the Stepien rule where you can't trade back-to-back first-round playoff, or first-round draft picks. Rather.
My first connection to Cleveland sports really was coming here when Chuck Daly was the head coach. And I was working in Philadelphia at the time, and they sent me here to write a story about whether he was going to be fired or not, because he had been a coach at Penn and had Philly roots. So I came here and I met him down at that Holiday Inn down in Richfield, and we were supposed to have lunch, and he had to reschedule a practice. So when I got there, he handed me a stack of plain dealers with things circled in them that Ted had either done or said. And he said, I've got to go to practice, but for your reading pleasure, I've outlined a few things for you, and then we'll talk. And it was all the stories. It was Ted calling him to the post-game lingerie show to explain why they lost that game, and Ted and Chuck having to sit there as these models, walked around. It was crazy. And then I remember sitting down with Stepien for the first time, and he's basically said to me, this guy's not a good coach. I mean, why would anybody defend me firing him, So it was a crazy time, and certainly Chuck went on to bigger and better things.
Yeah, slightly. Slightly. Well, we've talked a little bit about Nick Chubb and the job he's done, and he's been outstanding running the football. Browns are going to get Kareem Hunt back. He has served his 8-game suspensions, and here is what Kareem Hunt has done. Workhorse kind of guy, and you see, definitely a guy that can catch the ball out of the backfield. 7 touchdown receptions in 2018. Remember that year was cut a little bit short due to the suspension and getting released and all that good stuff. And again, a dual threat kind of guy who can catch the ball and run the ball. You give him enough carries, he's going to score touchdowns as well. 15 touchdowns rushing, 10 receiving. And you look at what Nick Chubb has done, and 154 carries, 8th ranked. 4th most rushing yards, tied for 5th, 5.2 yards a carry. You look at those numbers for Chubb this year, and you wonder, how have we only won 2 games?
Oh, no kidding.
You know what I mean?
And listen, I know it's a league now where you have to throw the ball generally to win, especially when you fall behind. But a lot of teams would really love to have a running back as consistent as him. And to me, he is the epitome of what these guys want to build here. He's a guy who does his job, never complains. The next time Nick Chubb says, I really wish I'd been on the field in 3rd and 4th down, and it'll be the first. He'll never do that. And you just, if people could look at him on this team and think, I should be more like that guy, they'd be better off.
Yeah, and again, here's a guy who's going to probably lose at least some carries to Kareem Hunt. You won't hear a peep out of him about it. Didn't sit there and say, boy, I've been disrespected because they went out and signed Kareem Hunt. When they went out and signed it, said, hey, he's going to make the team better.
Yeah, and we talked about the idea of Kareem Hunt was always that, when he walks in after 8 games, he's going to have such fresh legs, and it's really going to give this running game a boost. I don't know. I mean, Nick Chubb doesn't look like he's got tired legs to me. I wouldn't take any carries away from him to find fresh legs.
Can he play left tackle? How does he feel about right guard?
Well, if he gets put in the left tackle position, doesn't mean he'll be there next week, the way things are going on the offensive line.
That brings up a really valid point. You saw how well Nick Chubb has run the football, and that's behind a line that hadn't been really good, to be honest with you.
No, and I was a little surprised when they made the change at left tackle going into play what at the time we thought was the best defense in football in the Patriots. Not that there's any reason to doubt that they're still that. But then to turn back to Greg Robinson a week later, it just smacks of the same indecision and sort of upheaval that we're seeing elsewhere on this team.
And that might be a really good word to describe what it seems like. There's a lot of indecision in what Coach Kitchens is doing, and that's a little surprising because he comes across as a guy that's we're going to do it this way. just do it and then worry about it when it's done.
Yeah, no, I think that's been across the board. If you look at the play calling, if you look at some of the personnel decisions, if you look at an inability to use a guy like, unless we find out that there's something backstory to the Rashard Higgins thing. And I'm not pretending he's Jerry Rice. I'm just saying that for this quarterback, he was an important part of the offense.
Well, and keep in mind, if they're going to try to take away Odell Beckham, give him somebody he's really comfortable with.
And give him somebody he knows is going to run the right route and be where he knows he's going to be.
There was that understanding and chemistry, and they haven't taken advantage of it. You see the number if you want to get involved. I want to tell you about Northeast Factory Direct. No gimmicks or deceiving blowout sales, no typical retail nonsense. The bottom line is nobody is going to touch their everyday savings or quality. If you want nice big-ticket items to improve your home and you want to pay about half of what most people do, go to Northeast Factory Direct, West 140th in Cleveland, in the old B&B Appliance on Lakeland Boulevard in Euclid, Freeway Drive in Macedonia. You can find everything they have at northeastfactorydirect.com. Also, Sokolowski's University Inn. You are definitely qualified to talk about that.
I am. One of my favorite places. When my family comes in from out of town, we go there all the time.
Great food. They've won the James Beard Award, one of the oldest family-owned restaurants in the area. Sokolowski's University Inn, located in Tremont, established way back in 1923, a favorite of Bud and Les Levine as well. We're going to step aside and take a quick time out. You see the number if you want to get involved, along with WKYC.com's Bud Shaw, Dave Bacon, filling in for Les Levine. We'll be back with more after this time out.
No other company or product can match the features, benefits, and warranty of an authentic Nature Stone floor.
I had an epoxy-based sand paint on my floor that deteriorated, and that's why I called Nature Stone.
Why paint? It's expensive, it's ugly, and it doesn't last. Nature Stone is always affordable. It's beautiful, and with Russell's Promise, our true unconditional warranty, you will never have to replace your garage floor again. Get Nature Stone installed by the end of October and save up to half off. It's not just a floor, wow, it's Nature Stone.
When it comes to selling you a mattress, most retailers are handing you a line. A long line of extra steps that drive up costs and create confusion. At the Original Mattress Factory, we simplify the mattress shopping experience by building mattresses and box springs in our own local factories and selling them direct to you. It's short, sweet, and simply makes sense. So experience more than just the mattress store. Experience an original, the Original Mattress Factory.
Presque Isle Downton Casino now has sports betting. Use one of the 50 state-of-the-art Bet America kiosks to place your bet. Then, watch your favorite games on our new HD televisions or visit our new sportsbook area. Only at Presque Isle Downton Casino.
Couple of emails. Tom Rodazzo says, I agree with both of you. I can't understand why Kitchens doesn't do more with Baker in regards to waggle misdirection plays coming into the pros. Baker was considered to be very good throwing on the run, and with the struggles we have scoring deep in the red zone, why not add that element on some of Baker's keepers, at least get it on film so other teams have to respect it. Here's one from Mr. Gullible, some How Come Quickies theme night.
Oh.
How come my taste buds fire up when I think of the taste of bacon? That's very good. How come
He's trying to get a 10.0.
How come Shaw shanked his tee shot on the last hole when he spelled bacon in the clubhouse? Bacon would be shanking the tee shot, not Bud, but that's okay. And how come original quickies? How come my original quickies are lame compared to my plagiarized ones? So I like that.
At least he admits it.
Jay Patrick, how come when the magician was obsessed with trapdoors, it was just a stage he was going through?
I usually hate puns, but I'm giving that one a 9.5.
All right.
Can you see
And
that? Yeah, 9.5.
here is MNTMNRO. How come whenever something is broken in Berea, it always seems to be in the Kitchens? John and Ashtabula. I like that one. Browns getting ready to take on the Bills. Kind of interesting. Browns are favored in that one. Which, the Bills' defense has been pretty good.
Yeah, I think they're a top 10 defense, aren't they?
Yeah.
Or at least somewhere around that vicinity.
Let's take a look at the Browns and the Bills by the numbers. Offensive numbers, and you see pretty close as far as, the points and even the yardage. Now, the big thing that will jump out at you, turnovers.
Yeah.
And that's really been, in a couple of games, in a couple of instances, that's been the Browns' problem. If you flip it and you look at the defensive side of the thing, well, it's pretty good,
Yeah.
The 16 and a half points a game, 10 better than the Browns. The rushing, 30 yards better than the Browns. And even the passing, 30 yards better. So that Buffalo defense is going to give the Browns a challenge without question. And if we want to look at the teams that the Bills have played, because, they haven't played the greatest to amass the record that they have. They've beaten the Jets and the Giants and the Bengals. Lost to the Patriots in a close game. They only lost by 6. What you're seeing is they're not really blowing anybody out.
Right.
Because their offense is not great. But their defense is winning them games, which ends up being a recipe that concerns me because I've seen the Browns in the first 8 games that they've played.
Yeah, I mean, listen, if people want a coach from this team right now to replace Freddie Kitchens, the guy who's been most consistently successful is Mike Prefer, right? The special teams coach. I mean,
that hasn't been a disappointment.
No, here we were, and I was guilty of it, talking about, well, how can you go into a season with a rookie kicker and a rookie punter, who haven't been through this before? I mean, other than one ricochet on a PAT, they've been the best part of the team.
And now the rookie kicker and the rookie punter are going through this.
Yeah. Little did they know, just like everybody else.
Little did they know. But when you look at Buffalo, again, the thing that concerns you is the defense and the turnovers. They've been very good at getting pressure on quarterbacks and limiting the run game. So those will be challenges.
Yeah, and one of the stats that jumped out at me, and I wish I could remember exactly where, was that Baker-Mayfield's completion percentage when he hasn't been under pressure has not been good.
No.
And I know John-Dorsey during the bye week came out and said he didn't have any accuracy concerns. I think that was something he felt he needed to say more than something that he really believed.
Yeah, I would agree too. We're going to step aside. We're going to take one more timeout, but Sean and I will return. But first, I want to tell you about Cuyahoga Community College. Explore your interest and find a program that puts you on a path to a bright future. Tri-C offers more than 1,000 courses in over 140 career and technical programs. Go to tri-c.edu, tri-c.edu, Cuyahoga Community College, where futures begin. Northfield Park is your home for live and simulcast racing. Catch the excitement of live harness racing every Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Saturday, and now Sunday evening, Monday through Wednesday, post time 6 p.m., Saturday and Sunday. 6:40 is the post time. Open early every day for simulcast action. Lady Luck's Clubhouse is open Saturday with a special buffet, $15.95. Call 330-467-4101 for reservations. Special pricing on premium nights. Free admission and free parking every day at Northfield Park. We're going to step aside, take a quick timeout one more time. Bud Shaw from WKYC.com and I will return, filling in for Les-Levine. It's More Sports and Les-Levine here on cleveland.com.
No other company or product can match the features, benefits, and warranty of an authentic Nature Stone floor.
There was moisture in the basement. It ruined the carpeting. The smell was terrible. We didn't feel safe in our own basement, and that's when we called Nature Stone.
And with Russell's Promise, our true unconditional warranty, you will never have to replace your basement flooring again. Get Nature Stone installed by the end of October and save up to half off. Schedule your free cost estimate easily online today at 'It's not just a floor, wow, it's Nature Stone.
There are tastes we remember. Every smell brings the happiness of times gone by. Experience this every time you walk into Gallucci's Italian Foods. Whether you need lunch on the go, a catered party, or that perfect blend of wine, meats, and cheeses, Gallucci's has exactly what you're looking for. Straight from Mama's Kitchen for old world traditions or original experiences. From the tastes you remember to new flavors you'll never forget. Gallucci's is a tasty branch of your family tree.
The Ohio Lottery Partners in Education program recognizes role model students and teachers from across Ohio. Nominations can now be done completely online. To nominate a deserving teacher or student, go to ohiolottery.com. In the About section, find Partners in Education. There you will find links to the nomination forms. Students kindergarten through 12th grade can be academic all-stars. Teachers can be honored as a Teacher of the Month. The Ohio Lottery Partners in Education, where stars shine.
The D-Man, Dennis Maniloff, will be the guest tomorrow night here on More Sports and Les-Levine. Doing some work at WTAM. The D-Man also makes his picks with me on the Weekend Winners edition of More Sports and Les-Levine, and he is quite ahead of me right now. I need to catch up. So I want to remind you, ms&ll on Facebook, facebook.com/More Sports and Les-Levine. New content posted each and every day, including our question of the day and the voicemail of truth and reason, 216-200-6650. Call anytime to leave a message. We'll use the best messages in future shows. Running a little bit low on time. So what do you want to see from the Browns?
Well, I really want to see the quarterback finish the season on a high note, or at least on the upswing. And I think the playoffs are a real long shot at this point because it's going to require them to go 7-1 probably, maybe more. And to win at Pittsburgh is still no easy chore. To go to Arizona and win is not going to be real easy either. This game with Buffalo is going to be a tough game. So the idea of judging them on whether they make the playoffs, I think that's okay, but you're not going to judge them well in that regard. But I think it's important to see whether he figure some things out this year and that you feel better as a franchise about him coming into, they're not going to draft a quarterback. I'm not suggesting that. But clearly they want to feel good about using the #1 pick of the draft on this guy.
Well, the expectations were so high for him and you thought, boy, we got our guy. You want to feel that way again.
Yeah.
And I mean, if you thought he was going to go through and not have bumps in the road, I think you were kind of kidding yourself. I didn't think the bumps were going to be this deep and this prolonged.
I agree. And the other thing I'm going to look at is if there is a coaching change at the end of the season. I realized that John-Dorsey had never hired a head coach before this.
Right.
And that this doesn't look great on his resume if they finish the season playing the way they have been playing. But certainly I think it would be a really, really bad idea to blow everything up again with a new GM and all that. I would give Dorsey another chance to get it right, and under the understanding that he's got to hire the best coach that's out there. He can't be worried about bringing a powerful figure into this building here and worry about his own authority and everything. It's just got to be the best coach they can find. And I thought they limited themselves in the candidate pool last time around.
Yeah, and I wasn't necessarily against hiring somebody who had, the ear of Baker-Mayfield, but it hasn't translated. It hasn't given you what you thought it would.
Exactly. So, I know people like to who don't really know, and I'm one of them. I don't know what the conversations were like. It looks from the outside that Baker-Mayfield had a big input into Freddie being named head coach. I kind of doubt that. I believe that John Dorsey thought Freddie would be a good head coach for other reasons. One is important, that he gets along with Mayfield and that he was good for Mayfield last year. But I don't think that was the only reason he got hired.
Well, let's hope both Freddie Kitchens and Baker-Mayfield figure it out as they move forward. We're all out of time for this edition of More Sports and Les-Levine. I want to remind you, the D-Man, Dennis Maniloff, will be here tomorrow, 6 to 7. More Sports and Les-Levine, seen exclusively on cleveland.com. Great job as always.
Enjoyed it as always.
And stay safe. Be back tomorrow night.